Kia ora. Thank you very much, Cam. I hope you all don't mind, but I love sitting down, and I had to stand up to put all these up. It wasn't actually that difficult. Hopefully you've been able to have a look at some of the art. We were very lucky to have 16 artists from throughout Aotearoa, from early on in their journey all the way through to people who are full-time employed, donate their time and aroha to bring some awesome stories to light. And that story is King Landlord by Murdoch Stephens, who has joined me up on the stage as well. The first sort of question I'll have for Murdoch, and the overarching theme here, is talking about the expression of activism and political change through authorship and literature and art. So I guess just first of all, maybe going all the way back to when King Landlord was first written. He's just going to get a copy of the book, I imagine. He's going to sell you on it. Where did the inspiration for the story come? What are the sort of things you thought about while writing it? And you might also want to introduce yourself and your background, which I have failed to do.
Hey, awesome. Thank you, Geordie. Can people hear me okay here? Yeah, awesome. My name's Murdoch Stephens. Grew up in South Otago, live in Wellington now, and I'm a writer, which means I'm also a renter, because writing is a lot of fun, but doesn't always pay the bills. And so I guess I would say that the book started when I was renting a flat in Mount Victoria in Wellington in 2019, and our rent had been put up 9% at one point, and then another 8 months later it was put up another 10%, and the house was sort of rattling in the wind, because we have wind down there, you might have heard, and it was really miserable in winter. So we had a list of a few things we'd like changed around and improved, but we couldn't actually get in contact with the landlord to ask for it. So we had Harcourts was our property management company at the time. Anyone worked with Harcourts before? No? Okay, well, they're fine, whatever, they're just doing their jobs. So we kind of were sitting in the kitchen one night thinking, how are we actually going to try and get some improvements if we have to pay an extra combined 19% on this rent? We're like, we should find out who the landlord is. Let's have a look through all that stuff in the basement and see if we can find out their name and search them out. But we didn't find them. We found a bunch of mouse and rat shit down there. So we put some traps out and went back into the kitchen, and we thought, maybe the rat is the landlord. Maybe we've found our landlord here. And as you do when you're flatting and you've got a bit of time on your hands, we thought, well, what would a rat who's a landlord like? What would satisfy a rat? We thought, well, we live in Mount Victoria, where there's a bunch of old villas that have been renovated into $3 or $4 million villas, and they have really rich compost bins, so they'd probably like that. They'd probably love all the peaches and all the, I don't know what. Yeah, anyway. All that food waste. This is kind of a rambling way into it. And then I would be going to parties with friends at the time, and everyone was having the same situation. People were getting kicked out of places, rents were getting hiked up. It felt really desperate and sad. And me being a writer, I sort of got sick of complaining about it. Complaining's not that much fun unless you can do something about it. So I used the tools that I have, which is literature, and wrote the novel King Landlord, with a tagline in mind: not all landlords are rats, but now one rat is becoming a landlord. And that was sort of the thing I was trying to get at there. I was trying to have a little bit of fun, trying to tell an entertaining story. So that's kind of where the novel came from.
Fantastic. And you kind of mentioned there at the start that as an author, of course, you're renting, not earning that much money. But for some reason, you've decided to come on board with us to give away your work for free. It sounds like a bad business model, especially if you want to get out of renting. So I guess what sort of drew you as an author to the idea of giving away your work for free?
Just for everyone's peace of mind, usually in things like this, we share the interview questions ahead of time, and I would get to think about these things. So this is me doing it cold. I had no idea what these questions are. I'm doing some Auckland Writers Fest stuff in May, and I've already sent the questions off to the people. So I guess the main thing as a writer, you want to be read. You want people to look at your book and take the words in, and selling it as a means to doing that. This was actually the original copy And we've got a press that we use in the Trades Hall down in Wellington. There's about 4 collectives, cooperatives who put books out there. And I knew what Renters United did. Like, I saw them in the news. They're amazing. Maybe some of you saw Geordie slay Chris Bishop yesterday on breakfast television. If you didn't see it, go check it out. There's been memes made of it. So I had a lot of respect for them. I've done activism around the refugee quota in the past, and so I'm aware of what good and bad activism can look like, and I knew that they were... I mean, it's crazy, right? Like, these guys put their names on the line to be... Like, no one's going to rent to Geordie ever again, right? Can you imagine them typing his name into Google to find out who this guy is? Like, you'd have to be a very... I don't know... not a great landlord to give this guy a property. And I appreciate that, right? You've got to appreciate it. Someone putting themselves on the line saying, I'm committed to this. And so I had so much respect for them. And we'd talked about finding a cheap way to get this out beyond the kinds of people who read books and turn up to events like this. Like, we're all awesome people, and I love, anyone who would come out on a Saturday afternoon to talk about renting, talk about literature. But there's tons of people who literature's not that accessible to. Or they might not think of coming to this kind of place. So we did this crowdfunding campaign so we could actually give it away for free. And ultimately, like, it's a massive ego trip as well for any writer, right? You're giving away 10,000 copies of your book. Like, who wouldn't love that?
Yeah, I discovered that when you Google my name, the first thing that comes up is a story about some tenants who were throwing feces at each other. And so my name is along the headline, and I just hope that someone clicked into that and realised I was making a comment on that. I wasn't actually one of those tenants. I think one of the things I also wanted to talk about a little bit was the art, and unfortunately Robert, who did a fantastic job of bringing all of the artists together, communicating with them all, giving them these fantastically odd-shaped layouts, which they love so much. He couldn't be here. He's got some awesome kids. He very recently bought a house of his own, so we kicked him out, and he's not allowed to come anymore.
That's not true, right? We love our occupiers. Everyone should be able to own them.
Yes, we do love them. It's currently the only way to escape renting, but we also had some conversations with the artists down in Wellington for our first event, and some of the stories that came through around their artwork, and sort of so one of the ones that I quite liked is Asia's artwork, which is the one towards the back there where there's kind of like this rat wrapping its tail around what looks like a bunny. It was and there's kind of like these piles of paperwork. One of the things was talking about, as a renter, how often when you're moving or you need to get repairs done, you're just buried in paperwork. Like, they love to send you new forms to fill out. It's like, oh, thank you for telling me that the oven is broken, but if you could send out a form and you sign this and request the oven to be fixed, then I can start looking at it. And yeah, definitely she was on the ferry coming up to Wellington to move into her property with her partner at the time, and as they were about to get onto the ferry, the landlord texted them and said, hey, actually the property isn't available anymore. And so they arrived in Wellington with all of their stuff in a moving van and had nowhere to live. So I think behind all of the art that is here, and I definitely recommend if you're looking at the art and it really speaks to you, we have copies that are available for purchase where the artists are fully getting funds from that. They donated all of their time to doing this project. So if you do want to support them, we do have some of their prints available, and some of them have even signed them as well. In terms of the format of it, some of you might have looked at it and gone, oh, it doesn't really look like a book. It looks a bit more like a newspaper. Murdoch, you, I guess, have talked to me, but the people here might not know. What sort of inspiration was there around this sort of format of I was going to say journalism, but of writing, and sort of how did that feed into the project?
Thanks, Geordie. I think just before I do that, I don't want to forget to thank the people who... So we were able to provide these for free because 289 people supported us through a crowdfunding campaign, and we had the stupid idea that if we got $10,000, we'd print 10,000 copies, never thinking we would get there, but we did have 289 people back us with all sorts of pledges. So in the Palmerston North region, I wanted to thank Bing Malcolm, Innes, Hannah and any other anonymous person who didn't put down Palmerston North. Sorry?
And MTU.
Oh, and MTU, yeah. And actually Bruce Mackenzie Books bought, I think they bought 3 kilos and had some in stock there. Has anyone actually got a copy already before today? Yep. Oh, awesome. Awesome. Well, yeah, I just wanted to thank those people who made it possible, because their sort of foresight has meant we can give it away for free. There's a table full of copies over there. And that was kind of the aim of it. The aim was to find a way that this could be really, really low cost or free. And then Rob was talking to some of the artists, and the idea was, and can we also do that in full colour? And as someone who's part of a publishing collective, my answer is no, you can't do that. That's a silly idea. Full colour is expensive. But we're also realised that student magazines and places like that somehow print on large scale with full colour. And so we ended up talking to, we had a few different ideas. I did a really, my bedroom's full of these ugly little designs that I was trying to, I had one I showed to the guys. I was like, I could do this for $1.20, this one. It's not pretty. This is really beautiful. I was really excited by the chance to have those images be as large as possible. They're quite big here on the wall, but as you see on an A3 page or even an A2 spread, it really brings the images to life. So even if you don't care about novels, we were giving copies away in Wellington, and kids really loved all these pictures of rats. It's just, it's, I guess, some of it was my idea, but I would say Rob's design chops bring so much to the campaign. I'm still not entirely sure if it's a good reading experience. I think people have books around the size they are because they're easy to read and hold and look at. And I had 3 other examples of books that have been done in the same way. I don't think in New Zealand a novel's ever been done this way before. There's probably a reason for that. But yeah. Is that kind of what you're meaning, Geordie?
It was, yes. Perfect. Well answered, especially for someone who hasn't been given the questions ahead of time. I did that on purpose. I thought, Murdoch, he gets it too easy. He gets these questions prepared. We'll put him on the spot. One of the sort of last things that I wanted to talk about in our section is people have come up to us and they've said, why have you put time and effort into producing this instead of going out and sort of campaigning in the traditional sense of putting out a couple petitions, getting people out on Parliament lawn to shout at Parliament buildings. And one of the sort of things that we realised is that we've been doing a lot of that recently, and people have slowly gotten bored of it. It's like you can go to a certain number of campaign events and stand there with a sign, but does it make you feel empowered? Does it make you feel heard? Do you see yourself being represented? And I think that's one of the beautiful things about being able to do not only an illustrated novel, but a novel that talks to the stories that people experience every single day while renting, was what we thought an interesting way to bring renters together through a medium that we hadn't before. We spend so much of our time online, and there's a lot of online campaigning as well. How do we bring that into the physical sense where you're holding something that connects you to other renters, where this is a story that's sharing experience with other renters. And I think it's been really impactful. And I think behind the sort of GoFundMe campaign, we launched it on GoFundMe. Unfortunately, you can't schedule when something goes live on GoFundMe, and we wanted to send the emails out at a specific time. And so at one point it just went live on GoFundMe. It was on the front page. And we were about to send the email out to all of our members and friends and telling them that GoFundMe was live. But we had actually already reached our $1,500 goal just from random people who had discovered the project. And I think that's what's so beautiful about it to us is the connections that we can form through the project and through art and activism, which is the name of the section. Just dropping that in there as the finale. I hope everyone thought that was real smooth. I believe I'm now handing back to Cam to introduce the next section. But thank you very much for coming out, for having us. Love you all.